We have a special treat for you today. Julia and I have just come back from Parallel Summit 2014 in New Orleans, where Andrey Kugaevskiy and I gave a small presentation on the new Plesk SDK features. The SDK in Plesk is something akin to plugins and themes in WordPress, and it allows you to extend the Plesk panel functionality with something that it currently doesn't have. And we'll talk you through how that works. Enjoy the presentation. Julia was kind enough to film this on her iPad, so excuse the shaky camera work, but we're glad to have it. So enjoy. Oh yeah, if you have any questions, just leave a comment below and we'll see if we can help you.
Let's first talk about the past, present and future of Plesk SDK. You know, some of the history you should just know, just to keep in mind. The SDK for Plesk was initially created in 2005 for the Plesk Linux 7.5 release. It's been discontinued around 2010 because we changed the framework in Plesk 10, so it kind of didn't work from then on with newer versions of Plesk. However, around Plesk 11 in 2012, we have changed the SDK to actually work with 11.0 and eventually 11.5. We have reworked it significantly to make sure it works with the newer Plesk versions. And finally, in 2014, we would like to introduce an extensions catalog for Plesk that includes Plesk 12. To you and obviously the masses. So, with the history lesson being behind us, let's see what are the major fundamental changes between the old Plesk SDK and the newest one. Obviously, the old Plesk SDK was Linux only. The newer one is cross-platform. You can use that on Linux and on Windows. So, also, the old Plesk SDK had really complex RPM or depth packaging, so you had to go through a lot to make sure your extensions actually work and just to package them. The newer Plesk SDK, well, since it's cross-platform, we cannot really use that RPM for Windows, so we're using this really simple zip file with some metadata as packaging. Much simpler and cross-platform. You only need to create one package for both platforms in this approach. The third point is that old SDK only worked for Plesk 7, Plesk 8, and Plesk 9. Now the newer Plesk SDK works for Plesk 11, 11.5, and so on and so on and so on. Now, what are the new SDK capabilities when we took a deeper look into what we have? First of all, it supports Plesk 11.0 and so on. That's a huge plus just by itself, right? The next point is that we have this cross-platform packaging, which is a zip file with metadata, as I have previously stated. But that's not all. We support new Plesk UI style. So when you make your extension using the new Plesk SDK, your extension will actually look like new Plesk, not the old one, and without too much effort on your side. We have new extension examples in our SDK documentation and online, which you can really use and take as example to actually go forward and just make your own extension. The next point is that we have extensively reworked our documentation, more API, RPC descriptions, better documentation for SDK all around. Next point are more technical. We're using Zen framework MVC stack for the new Plesk SDK. Also, there's a fantastic ability to use your own custom CSS and JS files, and you can append them globally to all Plesk pages, so you can significantly, drastically change the way Plesk looks and behaves. This is one of the biggest features of the new Plesk SDK. Also, we have File Manager SDK, so you can actually change and extend our File Manager from within Plesk for your end customers. Also, we have scheduled task support and event handler support in our new SDK, and our API, RPC, and API command line gateways, they're there, and with them, you can do almost anything with Plesk using them. So your extension can do, well, whatever you want, basically. Next, you don't need to provide username and password and try to build HTTP requests to to make things happen with the new Plesk SDK, okay? But the only disadvantage is that you actually have to read our API RPC docs. Well, if you want to make things happen, you gotta read at least something, or you need to find a person who can read that for you and help you out. So, how to use the new Plesk SDK? We have simplified the process actually. Right now, you can read the quick start guide. Again, if you want, you might not want to read that. Then you just generate blank extension using the command line example right over there, or you can read about that in the quick start guide. After you get a blank, you can just fill this out. You can change it, include your own name and description and whatnot, and fill out your code. Again, that's optional if you just want to check if it works. And then you register your extension on Plesk and it just works. Simple as that. You can use our SDK in a range and a variety of ways. So, command line, you can do extension installation, extension removal. You can create blank extensions using our command line. You can package the extensions using the command line as well. And you can list all the extensions using the command line. Now, using UI, you can obviously install and remove the extension, and you can see the list of extension, and you can put some entry points like custom buttons and stuff in the UI, using the UI, basically. And as far as the RPC goes, you can install extensions. For example, you can provide the URL where it should be downloaded from, and voila, it's there. Now, I know that some people were asking me questions about when we should use SDK when it comes to integrating with Plesk, and when we should use APS. Now, I'm going to tell you that. APS, basically, is perfectly suited for packaging a web application that's hosted on the end customer domain. Something like CMS, something like WordPress. If you have something like that, you gotta go with SDK. You gotta go with APS, sorry. It could be a connector to an external service, really. That works too for APS 1.2. The advantage is that there's a single package in Plesk, PPA, and BA, because, well, APS is supported on all these platforms. The disadvantage is, though, Plesk supports only APS up to 1.2. So 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2, but not 2.0. And the integration with Plesk for APS apps is kind of limited by the fact that it's a hosted app on a web space, and by the fact that, well, we don't really have much to do in terms of UI integration, especially on the server level. That's just not possible with APS. On the other hand, if you use SDK, if you want to have your service to be connected to Plesk on a server level, you want to extend Plesk on the server level, things like that, you need to use SDK. There's no other option. APS will not help you do that. It can affect your stuff. If it can affect multiple subscriptions at once, or the whole server, or parts of Plesk panel itself, you need to use SDK, not APS. Again, if you need to customize UI in Plesk, SDK is the way to go. The disadvantage is that SDK only works for Plesk 11 and 0, and so on, and it won't work, this extension won't work for PA, for example, right? The good thing is that SDK allows really deep integration with Plesk on a deep server level. This is the Plesk extensions catalog. This is the thing I was mentioning. In Plesk 12, you'll see, you can actually open this URL right now. It works. You'll see the extensions catalog available. The catalog has extensions for Plesk 12, and for Plesk 11 and Plesk 11.5. You can download these extensions into any Plesk installation, starting from 11.0 and so on, and you can try them online for free, no charge required. We're going to officially introduce that in version 12, and this is how we're going to do that. If you open Plesk, there's a button called Extensions in the navigation pane, right? So you click Extensions, That will typically take you to the list of extensions where you can see. These are extensions that are already installed. Suppose you install them manually, right? There's a button called Extensions Catalog. That's where arrow number 2 is showing. Now, if you click that, you will see this list. This list actually lists all Plesk extensions located in the external catalog in your Plesk UI. So you don't actually have to go to x.plesk.com to see them all and install them. Well, you need to do that if you're on Plesk 11 or 11.5. But starting from version 12, you don't need to do that. Just click the button, you're there. You're seeing all extensions. This is the example of extensions catalog if you actually go to the x.plesk.com if you want to see how it looks. And this is an example of one of the extensions we have made available. This is the CoEditor extension. And I think that telling you about examples on the screenshots doesn't do the whole thing justice. So, with that being said, I welcome Jay Versluis, who is CEO of VP Hosting TV, to actually show you how the whole thing works live. He's the guy who actually uses our extensions, and he can tell you firsthand how the whole thing works. Please welcome Jay.
Wow, that sounds awesome, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Andrey. I think the tech guy's gone away. If I'm too loud, let me know. I can always tone it down a little bit by whispering. Okay. So, my name is Jay Versluis. I run a small WordPress hosting and support company. And I've been using Plesk since version 9. That would have been 2008. 2009, and I've seen the product grow. It's amazing. To me, Plesk is like a work of art. I really like it, and I really like the journey it's taken, and I like the new SDK. I'm also a developer, which is why I tried the SDK out, and I've currently got 8 iOS apps on Apple's App Store, and I'm also an active contributor to the WordPress community. I've got 4 WordPress plugins on the repository, and it works well for me, works well for my clients, works well for WordPress. So one of the things I want to show you today is, if I go to the live demo, if it works. That's always the big surprise. And if we have internet and all that, yes, it works. So that's good. That's good. I want to show you today how to install extensions in Plesk 11.5. Sadly, I didn't have a working build of Plesk 12 available right now, but 11.5 means I can show you what you can do today. I've got a virtual machine running on my MacBook here. See that lets me log in. Yes, it does. That's cool. So extensions. They're important in 2 ways. I see them a little bit like what plugins and themes are to WordPress. That's what extensions are to Plesk, or can be to Plesk. One of the things why WordPress is so successful is that it allows the community to amend the core functionality, to add new bits and pieces into WordPress and turn it into something else. And I'm excited to see that we now have the same functionality in Plesk. One of the things Andrew was talking about is the file manager. Let me just show you what it looks like right now. So I go to my subscription here, manage hosting, file manager, and this is where I can see all my files. So in here, index.html, if I bring that up, I have 2 options to view the file right now. This is without an extension installed, just vanilla Plesk 11.5. I've got the text editor and the HTML editor. So the HTML editor brings up like a WYSIWYG type thing. That's good if you want to make a quick change without having to get that IDE out. Or you can use the text editor to make a few code changes. But one of the problems is that developers like to see this color and brilliant color, and right now this is all just bland black and white. In the back row you can maybe not even exactly see where a JavaScript tag begins and an HTML tag ends. And one of the extensions Andrew is talking about is the code highlighter. So as easy as going up here to extensions, you see this big ever-growing list. The first one is the CoEditor. So you download it, and it's just a small zip file that once downloaded, you can add under here on the left-hand side under extensions. Just go and add extension. Oops. And upload it, and it's activated immediately. So now, if we go back to my subscription and to manage hosting and to files, now if I go back to index.html, I have a third option here, which is the CoEditor. And that presents it in full color. It's a nice example of how you can intercept core Plesk functionality, add your own bits, add your own code execution to it, and basically turn the panel into something else. And the other reason why this is important to distribute as small zip files is that the code is self-contained in smaller packages. You can share it with people. You don't have to hack core files. You don't risk the fact that they get wiped out on the next panel upgrade. So that's one example. Another one is, so this is a bit like WordPress plugin functionality. Change the behavior of the core Plesk. Another thing I want to show you is how you can use it as sort of like a theme option. Many customers want to change the look and feel of Plesk, and this is the home page of the admin interface here. You see this big blue box where it says Parallels Premium Outbound Anti-Spam, and Parallels Plesk Server Mobile Manager, and Parallels something else. Well, sometimes we just don't want to bother our clients with too much information, so there's an easy way via CSS to just suppress output of certain elements, like this box. So now it's there, and I've written a small extension just with one global CSS tweak, and that's one that's currently not available on the Plesk extensions catalog. I call it the PromoBox remover. And all it does is it looks at the HTML tag and mutes the output of it. So same again, I'm installing it, blue box is gone. There's one simple example. I mean, customers will probably want to change the look and feel of the panel completely. So in the spirit of Mardi Gras, I've made another one that, well, it's called Mardi Gras, and it adds some super funky colors to the Plesk admin interface. This may not look nice, and it's not a visually appealing experience, but it goes to show that I can easily change the background and the fonts and the font sizes. Think about your vision impaired customers if you need to up that, and it's very easy to just distribute that as a small zip file, upload it to 20 of your servers, and they'll all look like they have your handwriting on it. And of course, if you'd like to have the blue box back, and if you dislike the Mardi Gras colors, which I don't blame you for, imagine what a skilled web designer could do with this. You just select the extension you no longer want, click remove. I'm going to remove all of mine. And that brings back the panel functionality as it was before I've meddled with it. Okay, so one thing to take away here is that we now have the opportunity to turn Plesk into something that core functionality doesn't currently provide. Think about backup to Dropbox, backup to Google Drive. Anything that you wish Plesk had, you can now develop if you have the skills. And I believe more extensions are coming soon. The Plesk team is working on it, and I'm excited where this is going to go. Thanks, Andrey.
Thanks, Joe. I hope this was useful for you to see how the actual live experience works. Now, if I'll be able to find the presentation, I'll probably continue it. Aha! Here we are. Just give me a second. Okay. So basically, this is actually the end of the presentation. What things you need to keep in mind? The important stuff. First of all, SDK, as you have seen live, is the best way to extend Plesk, right? The next point is that extensions catalog that I've been showing here is available to everyone, free of charge. And actually, you can get your own extensions there as well. The third point is that we need your feedback to improve our SDK. Because if you're developing extensions for Plesk, the SDK is for you. And we need to do stuff that's useful for you, that allows you to extend Plesk in ways that you need. So it would be awesome if you actually go and provide your feedback. Play with SDK, provide your feedback to listing of Plesk extensions at Parallels.com. And this is the QR code which you can scan if you'd like to access the documentation of SDK, the latest one right now. So, right now, it's time for Q&A. Anybody has any questions about the SDK or not? Some of the questions I've had was like, can I put my extension there? The answer is yes, you can. At the moment, you need to email to this email address your extension and say, hey guys, I actually want to be there. I have a great extension. Just email your extension, we'll check it. If everything's fine, we'll put it online for everybody in the world to access that. If you're getting a lot of extensions, you'll be able to actually log in there, like register on the catalog, and see your own extensions and manage them without emailing us. But that's, a bit in the future. And the next question I typically hear is, can I sell my extensions in Plesk? And the answer is yes, you can. But typically, it involves either somehow directing people from within your extension to your website, or in the future, we're thinking of actually providing you with an interface where you can put your URL to the buy button that will be displayed in Plesk. So when your customers click the buy button, they're taken to your website to buy the license for your extension. So, any more questions? Okay, maybe some answers? Okay, good. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you will really use the SDK. Our dev team is really excited about that, and they're constantly improving it on a daily basis. So if you got any questions, yeah, Michael.
What's the formal method for if you're having a problem that the SDK doesn't support something you're trying to implement? You talk to the access.
Oh, give me a second. This email. Just write the message there, like, guys, I have a problem. I need this, you don't have this, let's do this. We'll be contacted, we'll figure out what exactly we need to do to support that, and we'll ask your use case, what exactly you're trying to do. If something's missing, we'll schedule it, we'll add it. All feedback, feature requests, complaints, just wherever you have, send it this way, really. It will be appreciated.